Gretchen. We have 2 mics between 3 of us, so we'll have to make that work. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. This is an incredible turnout. Obviously, this 46-year-old film still has some legs in it, I guess. Billy, let me start with you. Can you talk a little bit about, I know you've seen this film a million times, but talk to me a little bit about this experience and this moment, what you were doing and how you were affected.
Oppressed. I'm just trying to get a little sound going on here. Well, actually, this film makes me numb. You know, I was incarcerated on December the 4th, 1969. I lived with Fred at 2337 West Monroe, and to this day, even when I talk to occupants of that apartment on that fateful morning, I still get pissed off. I think that the early part of about 1969, here in the state of Illinois, the Black Panther Party was really coming into its own, you know. We started a free breakfast program in April of '69. We were diligently working on opening up our first free medical center, both of which were in North Lawndale. And it was something that established the order, and the mayor didn't particularly care for, nor did the state's attorney. We were under constant surveillance during that time. They raided our office in April 1969. They raided our office again in July of 1969. They raided our office in October of 1969. And when I say raid, they actually came with the intent to do great bodily harm. And it culminated on the morning of December the 4th, you know, where they actually, you saw the film, you know, but it's something that I personally can't let go of. My whole life has been predicated on one of the things that Chairman Fred told us on many occasions, is that if there is only one black person alive in the state of Illinois, that then therefore there will always be a Black Panther Party. And that means the organizing continues, that means the educational process continue to heighten the contradictions that exist, that actually creates division among working class people, you know, in particular poor people. It was very important to the ideology and the philosophical understanding of the Black Panther Party, which Fred Hampton manifested to the, so very hard for me not to curse. No, I don't want a motherfucking curse. But no, you know, it's a tough question, you know, and I'm fumbling and bumming with it, but each day is a journey. Each day is a struggle to continue to work in whatever way that I personally can. And by being here tonight at the request of my friend over there, who used to be my boss, Mary Visconti, she always gets me caught up in some shit. You know, I was, damn, Mary, you know, So you better be glad the game not on tonight, because I've been right there watching KD destroy the king. I'm the only damn king. Fuck the LeBron James. But anyway, that's
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Your honesty. Bill Cottle, I mean, I'm sure people have tons of questions for you. Let's get a microphone to Bill Cottle. I want to ask you about making the film, obviously. Presumably, this is not the film you set out to make, so tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it more or less started in August of 1968. The film group was primarily a TV commercial production company. And in August 1968, we were doing Colonel Sanders commercials. And that's no relation to the fellow I voted for in the primary.
Yeah.
Different Sanders family. My partner in the film group, Mike Gray, got a phone call saying there were interesting things happening in Grand Park, that we should get a crew down there. And he told our receptionist to take the colonel out for lunch and don't bring him back. And that was the start. The crew was kind of roughed up by the crowds and the police hurting the crowds. And the next night, he wanted to go out again, and he couldn't get anybody to carry equipment, people to act as a grip. So I, of course, volunteered because I knew that the police wouldn't bother. And we went out there, and Dick Gregory was inviting a couple thousand people to his house for dinner. And we followed the group, went down Michigan Avenue. The authorities were doing was preventing people from going by the amphitheater. And so at 18th Street, they had armored vehicles in the National Guard, and they were going to stop people from going across 18th Street in Michigan towards the amphitheater. But Dick Gregory was anxious to have people go that way. And as I said, there were a couple thousand people. There were helicopters overhead observing what was going on. And we were filming the crowd and going along with Dick Gregory with some speeches. And we got to 18th Street, the National Guard, by their spokesman, said that nobody could go any further. And there was a congressman from New York, Allard Lowenstein, who was murdered in his office a few years later. But he made a speech about people have a right to walk the streets. And then Dick Gregory said, well, if we're going to be arrested, we'll get arrested, let's go forward. And the streets were completely filled with sidewalks, and people were carrying little children on their shoulders. And they started firing tear gas into the crowd. And the crowd couldn't move. We were a couple blocks long, and streets filled with people. And we had gone up to an abandoned building, we were filming this, and I was aghast at the sight of tear gas being fired at these people who were not being violent, just most of them were just standing there, and there were little children. And when the tear gas cleared, we went down, we were about the 4th or 5th floor of this building. We were in front of the Hilton, we were on the west side of Michigan, looking at what was happening in Grand Park. And And I was standing with our production manager, a fellow named Jim Dennett, and we were just standing there. I was carrying extra film and tape in my bag. And Jim Dennett and I were both grabbed from behind by by two policemen, taken down to the basement of the Hilton, which was a temporary headquarters. And I was told to, at that time, people who were apprehended, who were demonstrating, some were kept a full week without being taken before a magistrate. And so I was somewhat concerned about spending a week in jail. Well, anyway, I was told to go stand against the wall. And I said, what am I being charged with? And the police officer said, go stand against the wall. And I said, what am I being charged with? And then a heavy-set man who, in plain clothes, came over to me and said, go stand against the wall or I'll break your fucking head open. I knew right away he wasn't a public relations officer. And I said, who are you? And he looked at me. He said, I'm the commandant of police, whatever that is. And he said, who are you? And I took out my wallet, and I had a string of different cards. I had one card that said I was could practice before the Illinois Supreme Court. Another card said I could practice law in Washington, D.C. I had a life membership to the Art Institute, CPA membership card, and an American Express card. And he kind of looked at me, and I said, what am I being charged with? And he looked at me and he walked over to the police officer, and I saw the police officer go like this. And he came back, and he said to me, look, if I let you go, we just get the hell out of here. And I said, and I pointed to Jim Dennett, and I said, yeah, I want him. He said, yeah, you and him, just get the hell out of here. And I was... back then I had no facial hair, I had a relatively short haircut. I was wearing a white dress shirt, suit pants. And as I was walking up the stairs out of the basement of the Hilton, I was thinking, my God, if I had facial hair, if I was black, if I didn't have some idea of what my rights were, I'd be in jail.
Yeah.
And at that moment, my whole life changed. I never realized what kind of predicament I could possibly be in. I grew up in the 30s, and I heard stories growing up about the Cossacks and my grandparents and things that went on in the shuttles. And I never imagined things like that would ever possibly occur in the United States. And we were so incensed, we said, we're going to make a film about this. And we advertised for film from other filmmakers to put together a film. And my wife had been out of town that evening that I volunteered to grip, and she was so incensed she called the FBI. And the FBI came to our studio, and we had film from other filmmakers. A police officer had removed his identification and was going around with mace, escorting innocent people, and did the same thing with another police officer who removed his identification. He was clubbing people. And the FBI agent said he wanted film of demonstrators throwing things at the police. I said, well, we really don't have it. I don't know. We never got any. We didn't see it. And a lot of it happened in the dark, so that could be the reason why. But I have all this film of police acting inappropriately. And he said, oh no, we're not interested in that. Not interested in it? And I was shocked. Well, when we were going through the film, the raw footage, it was noticed there were virtually no local blacks involved in demonstrations. And we couldn't understand that. And naive whiteys, why weren't there any local blacks demonstrating? And there was a fellow named Emmett Grogan, who was a member of the organization called the Diggers, who said he would introduce us to some blacks who could give us some answers. And that's when we became acquainted with the Black Panthers.
Ringo Lee.
And the revelations of what we learned was amazing. And that's when the film crews, when they were going out to film, were stopped by the police. And that's when we discovered.
You mean you're going out to film speeches and meetings and things like that?
Yeah, and talking to people. Then we had our phones checked, and we found out they were being tapped. And we suspected our home phones also were tapped. We didn't check them out, but heard a funny click every time we picked up the phone. And then we heard about the Red Squad. And the first film we did was called American Revolution 2. It was about the Black Panthers and their organizing efforts with other groups. And in the course of making the film, we interviewed police officers denied there was such a thing as the Red Squad. And we invited, when we had a rough cut of the film, we invited the Red Squad to view it. And the official name was the Chicago Police Intelligence Unit. And there were at least 20 police officers in our studio looking at the rough cut. And back then, I had not heard of COINTELPRO. A lot of people have not. It's the Counterintelligence Program. The code name at the FBI was COINTELPRO. And that was the surveillance of American subversives. And I guess that's what I was considered to be, because I eventually got a portion of the Red Squad report on me. And eventually the ACLU filed suit. I never saw any of the transcripts of the ACLU. Well, in any event, when we finished American Revolution 2, we continued filming the Panthers, Fred Hampton, Bobby Rush. And in the meantime, I was spending time trying to get the American Revolution distributed. And it was shocking, the news about Fred Hampton. And it was also shocking that the misinformation, the outright lies of the cameraman and the police, which was so contrary to the evidence that Mike Gray had filmed. And then I got a call from Mike. He said he was very, very concerned about the security of the film and all the evidence that we had acquired. And he said he was leaving town. And I told him, take all the film, wanted all the equipment, whatever he wanted. And I said, this is a very important film, and it's important to get it made. And I said, I'll just close up the company. But you get the film made. And a lot of documentaries I've seen, there's credits of 10 people, 15 people, 20 people, some 30, 40 people. We had about 6, maybe 5 people that were actually working on this film. And people asked me what kind of budget we had. We didn't have a budget. Whenever we ran out of money, most of the money was from Mike and me. And then neither one of us had that much. Albert Grossman was Bobby Dylan's manager. When we ran out of money, Mike would call him, and he would come to town and give us cash. And essentially, that's how the film was made. And I was concerned about, with Mike gone, and it was the Justice Department that was actually looking for the film. At first I was hoping, maybe they wanted to contribute to, and then I realized that they wanted to suppress the film. And at that time, I did not know that the FBI was actually involved and was the one complicit with setting up the death of Fred Hampton.
So much of the story unfolds later, over the years. I mean, the information that comes out slowly and fills in the picture.
2 years ago, this film was essentially completed in the early 70s, and the Panthers attorneys discovered quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. I want to invite people from the audience to ask questions, obviously, but I'd like to do something a little different, which is that when you ask a question, this is a really big turnout, and there's a lot of mixed generation here, which is awesome. I'd like to know why people came out. In other words, obviously you came to see the film, but I'm really interested in knowing why this film drew people here. So if you have a question, raise your hand if you have a question, but tell us, when you ask it, tell us a little bit about why you're here, if you would. This woman here?
Am I coming to you? Or
just holler.
My name is Karen Courtright, and I live in Evanston, and I've recently become involved in trying to restructure our police complaint system and come up with some citizen-based police oversight. So the title of the program tonight, even though Milos said it wasn't quite right, his quote, "Policing the Police," really caught my attention. And I frankly didn't know much about this film at all. So first of all, thank you for continuing my education. And I guess what my question for Billy is, how do you feel about the situation with policing in Chicago today?
Let me give you my mic.
Well, I grew up in North Lawndale, West Side Street. And one of the things we learned early on, you know, this was before the police cars were blue and white. They were black and white then. And police have never really been sensitive to poor people, black people, brown people in particular. You grow up watching brutality. You grow up being intimidated, you know. What I see today in 2017 is no different than what I saw in 1963, 1964, 65, you know. It's the tactics maybe that they use, the brutality that's incorporated, you know, with that. I see the police as a continuum of the racist economic policies that keep this empire afloat. You know, the police are the protectors of the privileged. We have nothing, so therefore we are worth nothing. They didn't have a problem murdering poor people then. They don't have a problem murdering poor people now. Almost said, fuck the police. Okay? Yeah. Because our community has been, the police bring the drugs in, they protect the drug dealers big time. You know, they make big money. You know, I can go on and on, but, you know, and it's evidenced with the current political situation is no different from 1968 when Tricky Dick and John Mitchell and Spiro T. Agnew was rolling with J. Edgar Hoover. You know, the climate in this country with the consent decrees that the Justice Department, under weak Eric Holder, you know, implemented are being zapped by Sessions. Yeah. You know, so, you know, it's a paramilitary situation getting ready to come down. Fascism, you know, is going to reign supreme because that's what Donald wants, you know. The whole cover-up thing that he's doing takes away from people really checking out the different policies. Just like last Friday, you know, I don't know how many people paid attention, particularly women, you know, dealing with pharmaceuticals and reproduction and giving the employers the ability to deny. Okay? Yeah. But that's going on now. That's a law. That's happening now. But we don't know that because we trying to figure out what he's doing with Russia. He ain't doing shit with Russia. He's doing shit with us. So we need to pay attention.
There's a question down here.
I'm Ernest Kavashi.
Can you speak up a bit? Sorry.
Yeah, my name's Ernest Kavashi. I live in the area. I guess the reason why I'm interested in the Black Panthers is because they help me to understand my role in society. Teaching they're kind of timeless, which is how I felt watching all that footage. It doesn't feel obsolete like old footage usually does. My question to you was, do you feel that your movement had been silenced? And do you think that guns are unnecessary and partially allowed this to happen?
Okay. Fred Hampton has a son. Okay. I spoke to him on my way here. Asked him to come over here and turn this shit out. Because, you know, if you know him, that's what he do. He'll fuck some shit up real quick. You know. But he represents the spirit that was manifested in the ideological and philosophical approach to the Black Panther Party process. It was a political organization, you know. The politics of the Black Panther Party was anti-imperialism, anti-oppression, you know, coalition politics. So in that respect, you know, we were alive and well, you know. Coalition politics enabled Barack Obama to be elected to sit in the White House for 8 years. Pretty much that's all the fuck he did. You know, no, my ass. The Voting Rights Act was repealed. The Voting Right Act was repealed. I'm just talking about politics. It don't matter who it was. Wow, him and Eric Holder sat there. Okay? There are a lot of things that went on that paved the way for an idiot like Trump, you know, to be in there to put down the type of things that he's doing. So it's the politics of the Black Panther Party, you know, that I still relate to. I think it's necessary for us to have a economic infrastructure that will allow us to create programs and situations in our community that are autonomous to the existing, you know, it's like you see all these old bullshit ass social service agencies like the Better Boys Foundation over on the west side, who's supposed to be there to provide services to the people. But they don't do that. You see what I'm saying? We believe in organizing people to develop a consciousness that will allow them to elevate their reality. When we talked about power, we defined power as the ability to define phenomena and make that phenomena act in a desired manner. So we're very, very far away from that. But conceptually, even as young people have that ability to study us, learn from our mistakes, and for sure, you know, we made a lot of mistakes. You know, don't replicate nothing that we the fuck did. You know, learn from our mistakes. You know what I'm saying? As far as guns are concerned, you know, I'll be 69 years old next month. I lost my son 1991 to gun violence, you know. I think guns are horrific. I think that there's a better way to create an environment that's loving and caring, you know. We see the impact of guns, you know, with the police, you know, and how ruthless they are. We see the impact of guns with the violence that erupts throughout the communities on a daily basis, babies shooting babies. Yeah. That's learned behavior. We have to unlearn that, you know what I'm saying? Do I think that we should bear arms? Yes. Do I support the conceal and carry law? Yes. I ain't got a check though, you know. I fool motherfuckers so they don't bother me. Y'all better back the fuck up, you know. But in all honesty, you know, guns aren't good. You know, Because somebody coming at you with a gun, you know, the Black Panther Party started out basically self-defense, you know. You have a constitutional right, you know, in this country to defend yourself, you know. So, I don't own a weapon, but I can get to something real quick if somebody fucking with me. You know, there were many guns in that house, that apartment at 2337 West Monroe that morning. Bunch of guns. But guns are only effective as the people who are around them. And only somebody that was shooting that morning was the police. So, leave the guns alone.
Back to the gentleman in the back. No, yeah.
Just interested in getting your guys' perspective. I've been fascinated with the Panthers since I was in high school, and I'm a musician, and I've been really interested by the documentaries that have come out recently, like the PBS special, the Black Power mixtape. And when I was playing in San Francisco, I went to Oakland because they had a big exhibit, for the anniversary of the Panthers. And here I am seeing school groups come out. I mean, like 10, 11-year-olds learning about the Panthers, And even as a kid, I just thought the Panthers were a militant organization, And I've grown about what the power the women had in the movement, the food services that the Panthers provided. It's a fascinating social experiment of its time. It's a fascinating experiment. My point I'm asking you is the Panthers now in 2017 have sort of been softened up is the wrong word, but it's a little bit more accepted. I mean, when you have kids being taught, about it. Now, this is in Oakland. This wouldn't happen in Alabama. It's a different thing. But I just wanted to get your perspective of how you've seen what people view the Panthers over the years and how you feel about it now. What being part of the organization.
Well, Cottle, let's hear from you on that as well, but let's hear from Billy.
Well, geez, thank you. Black Panther Party, was a revolutionary process where we looked upon what we did as heightening contradictions by way of using socialistic programs, by forcing the government to do things that they should do. We started free breakfast programs. We started the free health centers. At that particular time, there was no sickle cell anemia understanding, and because only black people, suffered that. So our thing was educational. In the sense that we looked at creating what we call survival programs, pending the revolution. At no point in time did we ever think that this would be something that would come to fruition in our life. But at the same time, we knew that laying a foundation is based on what they call best practice now, but it's based on a scientific analysis of historically looking at the struggle of poor people in this country and the type of things that, you have to look at the whole nexus of capitalism and the whole intent of the political system that exists in this country that keeps that system going, which is exploitation of man by man, So in a sense, as a political organization, as a functioning structural organization, no, we don't exist as such. But the idea of liberation, the idea of freedom, the idea of equality, but more importantly, the idea of love. Fred used to talk about revolutionary love. He said you had to love the people. You had to care for the people. You had to be willing to sacrifice for the people. And it was a rough go. Okay? But I believed in it. And until my last breath, I will continue to educate as many people as I can, to talk to as many people as I can. My specialty is young people. I don't get along with people over 57 too well. Because what was you doing? That's what I asked them, I was out there, what the hell was you doing now? 45 years later, you come here talking shit. You know what I'm saying? What the hell did you do then? Don't criticize. Talk about what you did. And there's so much that you can do now, my brother, with your music, you know what I'm saying? You touch someone, with your words, with your thought, and with your spirit, I said earlier, Cameron Fred said, as long as there's one black person alive in the state of Illinois, there will always be a Black Panther Party. So you could look at me as a motherfucking Black Panther Party member.
Cottle, talk about, I'd like to get your perspective on this film, and it's like in the 45 years since you made it. I mean, how has the audience support changed, or has it, or how has its meaning changed to the people who watch it?
And it's almost 50 years later, things really haven't improved that much in many ways.
Okay, we got a question over here.
I came to see this film because I've been hungry for knowledge about the Black Panthers, because you don't hear about it in school at all, and I only know about it from films like this. This film was amazing and gripping and inspiring because it just showed people caring about justice. And that was the only thing that mattered. You didn't even have any money, and you just devoted yourself to making this film. And so I applaud you, and I applaud your excellent advice and life experience. I want to know what you guys think about the political route to system change. What do you think about us getting a new mayor? And what do you think about us getting an elected civilian police accountability council?
Good luck with that.
I think it's possible that there used to be this thing called independent political organizations throughout the city, This is when aldermen were truly independent. This was before corporations just took over all aspects of it, But as far as getting a new mayor, the only thing that's going to get that going is that each ward, needs to start organizing now, get a credible candidate. Not only should they be credible, they should be competent, and they should be committed. So we call that 3 C's, motherfucker. Okay? You gotta be the 3 C's, okay? And it can happen. You don't need, you need money, of course, because you're fighting money. You know what I'm saying? But the way the city is structured and set up with all the power manifested in the aldermans, the whole patronage, process, the intimidation by the police, but we get a new mayor. One thing happened back in the day, we, after December the 4th, 1969, we had never ever participated in a political process, you know. But wasn't no way in the hell we was gonna let Edward V. Henry win re-election, you know, as a state's attorney. So people turned out and put a Republican in there. His name was Bernie Carey, I think that was his name.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So if you have the desire, you know, and you really want to get out there and do it, and it's a lot of work. You know, one of the most difficult things there is to do, particularly in poor and oppressed community, is on election day, if you ain't got no money to pay people, every election out here been bought. You know what I'm saying? Now, as far as the civilian police board, we it's part of our platform and program called for decentralization of the police, which means that if you're going to work in a community, you would live in that community. I tell you something, you ain't gonna be out there busting folks' head if you gotta come live next door to them. You know what I'm saying? That was one of the things that we pushed very hard when this guy named Bobby Rush was an alderman. We wanted him so very bad to introduce that legislation. He never did at that particular time. We didn't know he'd sold out. Son of a bitch. You know, and it's no secret, you know, it's no secret, you know what I'm saying? So a life lesson is to judge a person about what they do, you know, particularly if you're out there organizing, because if I had paid attention to a lot of shit Bobby Rush said back then, I would have knew, but I didn't know. Okay? But it can, both of them can happen, but you gotta get out there and organize. I know it can happen.
Oh, he's not my mayor. I don't live in the city. The problem throughout the state is the corruption. And when you have, when we had J. Edgar Hoover organizing the deaths of people and getting away with it, and someone like Hanrahan, who had made a deal with the Justice Department that he wouldn't reveal that the FBI was complicit in the murder of the Panthers in that raid, and that he wouldn't be prosecuted if he didn't reveal it. You have essentially the top police force in the country being involved in something so reprehensible. And in the 60s, you had the mayor of Chicago telling the police to shoot to kill looters. How do you expect police to deal with things when the mayor tells them to do something? And they have the example of the head of the top police agency in the United States organizing the murder of people.
Do you agree that things have changed?
No. It's hard to see if they have.
I've been ignoring this side, so how about in the back?
Me?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Melissa. I'm an organizer in Chicago with a militant womanist socialist group called Fury. And my question is for you, Billy. I'm wondering what advice you have for radicals who are fed up with both the fascist pigs and the poverty pimping nonprofits today.
Oh, God damn it.
You know, that was a term back in the day, you know, that people got got saddled with because we call them poverty pimps. Now, what is a poverty pimp? They get poverty money to empower and enable a community. That's as simple as I can put it. Because every RFP that you get is going to look at the demographics. And one of the most salient demographics they're going to look at is income. You know, and you got a lot of organizations, churches, community-based organizations throughout the city of Chicago that fall into that category of poverty pimps. Me and Mary used to work for one called the Better Boys Foundation. We call it the Better Boys Foundation, but they got a little slam ball over there now. He calls it Better Boys Foundation Family Center. Well, shit, you ain't changed nothing. You know what I'm saying? So you got to hold the poverty pimps accountable. He think he done got him. His name is Rufus Williams. He used to be the president of Chicago school system. He and Michael Scott were both up on the investigation when Michael Scott allegedly took his life. And shortly after that, the young Dick Daley fired Rufus Williams, and he resurfaced over there on me and Mary and basically kicked both of us out because we have programs that empower people. We have programs that love youth, you know what I'm saying? So that's for the poverty pimps. What was the other one?
Oh, the fascist pigs.
Fascist pigs? Shit, I don't know. Ain't police in here? Yeah, I ain't never been nowhere where there wasn't at least one cop. So y'all, if ain't no police in here, y'all falling down, because I'm still out here talking shit. I'm going to tell on y'all. You know? The only way that see, it's policy, right? The policy has to change, you know, and that's not going to change. Then we say, well, if we could get them to change their perception of young people, you know what I'm saying? That's not going to change. So it's going to take a total transformative political and economical process to, you know, it's going, you know, you need a little fury in you, you know what I'm saying? You gotta get mad. Y'all go see Wonder Woman this weekend? She's kicking ass, all right? And that's what you gotta do. You know, I mean, you analyze the situation. You know, if you got a problem and you know, you look at it and you try to come up with a logical way to address it. You know, but it's work. You know, it's the type of work that only committed people are willing to do. You know, they got more guns than us. You know, they got more cameras. Man, they had cameras back in the day. I'd be doing 15,000 years. That's some real shit there, you know? But, you know, it's, you know, they got everything technologically, Huey P. Newton called it technocracy. Yeah. All right? That's what Huey P. Newton was, you know, one of the, he's crazy in some ways, but when he went to the joint, it was 15, 20 Panthers. You know, when he come out, he's an icon. That's some hard shit, you know. You don't know how to, you know how to handle that. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, he always said that the spirit of the people is greater than the man's technocracy. You know what I'm saying? The most critical thing you have to do is vet people that you are associating yourself with. We do not have that ability. as you can now. You could Google anybody. If they ain't shit, they ain't gonna show up. You know, I Googled you. Yeah. You cool, I like you. You know, but vet people. I mean, I don't care what you doing, you know, if you got a girlfriend, vet her ass. If you got a boyfriend, vet their ass. Find out where they been, who they know, and what they're about, see if y'all compatible. You know what I'm saying? Because if everybody just got fury and rage in them and you really don't know each other, you're going to be so anarchistic fuck-ups. Okay? So I always take a scientific approach. You know, we Black Panther Party, we read a lot. And there's one thing I want to say to white people. When you say Panther, it just makes me fucking cringe. Try to say Black Panther. Can you say Black Panther? Panther. Fuck, I don't know no Panthers. What the fuck is a Panther? A Black Panther Party. You know, it's very important, you know. Say Black Panther Party. If you got Panthers. I want to know I don't know no Panthers.
How to follow that. We're here. You, yeah.
Hi, I came to this because I've been interested in warrantless wiretapping. It was expanded over the past decade from the old days where most of the collection was done by hand and telephones to now it's all computerized, immediate. And what started during the Obama era could easily expand to something much worse under somebody who was less inclined to protect civil rights. Not that Obama was really pro-civil rights. Anyway, that's why I came. My question for you is, how do you, for both of you, how do you get your message across to somebody who's not interested in hearing it to begin with? There's this idea that there's a lot of activism and messaging, protest, building awareness, but that only has an effect on people who want to hear you. What about the people who don't really care about your message? How do you get them to care about poor people or minorities to begin with?
Let me take a stab at that. Because I'm always talking to motherfuckers who don't want to hear the shit I gotta say. Truth is one of the most difficult things to process, you know? But I try to be logical in my approach to intersecting with people, whether it's generational, you know, political, you know, whatever. You know, people have a tendency to believe what they want to believe, okay? So if you're trying to get to someone that doesn't believe the way that you believe, you give them all the logic that you possibly can. You know, you give them a science. See, science is so important. You know, I grew up in the Marxist-Leninist era, where it was a prerequisite that you read. And I don't know how many people read now. You know what I'm saying? But you need to pick up a book. You know, and there's a book out there about anything you want to do. You know, anything you want to know, okay? But you got to be passionate, you know, about relaying that information, you know, to whoever you want to relay it to, because, you know, you're talking about their value system, you know, talking about their attitude, and from a sociological and psychological perspective, those are two of the most difficult things that there are to change. They tried to change my attitude with drugs. You know, alcohol, weed. See a brother out here with Bob Marley shirt on. I like that in you, bro. I got one that's like that. You're a annuity, man. I mean, I'm down with Ra. 100, you know what I'm saying? You know, I mean, shit, it comes out the ground. You know, that's the only thing I can process. You know what I'm saying? So changing the person's opinion, change the person's attitude, looking at their value system is different. Because if you don't want to work with somebody, you're not going to work with. So what you're going to have to do is identify people who look like you, think like you, and want to do what you want to do. Other than that, you know, like I said, it's hard for me to talk to somebody over 50-something. I ain't trying to hear a motherfucking thing you say. You know what I mean? And they could say the same thing about me. I get it all the time. So think about it like that. And remember this. If it's not logical, walk away.
You go wind up fight.
Bill, can we hear from you about making films? Who'd you make this film for, or who do you make films for? I mean, do you think of this film as speaking to people who don't necessarily agree? Obviously, we've got a lot of people in this room who are receptive to the message.
The two films that we made, American Revolution 2 and The Murder of Fred Hampton, wasn't so much to persuade people of anything, but it was really to, at least from my perspective, the important thing was giving a voice to the people who are in this film and letting them tell the world about their beliefs and what they're doing. And I think to some extent we accomplished this with both those films, American Revolution 2 and Murder of Fred Hampton.
Maybe just one more question, if there's another question out there. Here you go.
It's not a question, but I would like to invite, especially young people, to read two books that, to me, when I was young and read it, it really changed my life in the long term. One is Anna Karenina from Leon Tolstoy and War and Peace. These two books really opened my eyes to a different world that I could not observe or absorb or get hold of unless I read those books. I was 18 years old, and it really changed my life. So I recommend to young people to take, it takes time to read it because you get involved in the whole events in there, but if you do pay attention and read them with care and with loving, then they will be tremendous rewards to anybody.
All right, thanks, everybody. All right, we're devolving into the informal session. I just don't want people to feel like they're stuck in this. They can feel free to go. But I saw a hand sheet up back there, so what the hell?
So, a comment and a question. The comment is, I'm sorry, I'm Linda Seif, and I've seen the film before. I'm a friend of Julie Cottle, and I'm so thrilled to be here in this panel. But my comment is, it's so powerful to think for me, and I guess this is the racism that I have to keep dealing with myself. We have all these images of like white guys in rural areas with big guns, and those are so accepted in our society, maybe not white folks. But to see black men with big guns, I think we can have a different emotional response. And I'm just checking myself, and I don't know if other people felt that way. But my question is, in watching the film, something that struck me, and I didn't really remember from the time I saw it before, are all the white people in the film who I think I would call allies today. So I wonder if you could talk about what that was like. I guess when I think of the Black Panther Party, not the Panthers, Black Panther Party.
You just did something to me. You made the big boy stand up.
I don't have this image of all of that like interracial people working together. So could you talk about that in whatever way you want to? Both of you, please.
Okay, who wants to start?
You know, our slogan was all power to the people. Okay? That was a way of us recognizing that we're involved in a class, struggle, and it can go back and forth depending on who you're talking to, Bob, Bacon, whichever other communist dudes out there running around trying to tell black people what the fuck to do. But we considered ourselves the vanguard for the revolutionary struggle in this country. And, we recognized early on that coalition politics was the way to go. Here in the state of Illinois, we spent a lot of time on college campuses, recruiting. We didn't go to the penitentiary, and we didn't necessarily go to the street. Even though I am from the street, because every time I came outside, I was in the street and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's all from the street. People are people. You look at this economic system, it's set up in a way, the whole thing about slavery that was so powerful was that, and it's even in the Constitution, black people are less than human. So, if you see me as less than human, you probably don't feel too bad about fucking me over. And we always said that racism was a byproduct of capitalism, And if you look at the dumbass president that you have up in there now, he's not my president, he uses it to the max. The ACA Act, as it stands today, is the best possible thing that this country can have as far as medical care. Would a single payer system work? Of course. Universal health care? Yes. You know what I'm saying? But he used race and the KKK to get elected. And this country went with it. And they're still going with it because we can't come together. Just imagine. One of the things we tried to do with our Rainbow Coalition with the Young Lords and the Young Patriots, Mike James and Rising Up Angry, who was some cold-blooded greasers. Yes. You know what I mean? We worked across all processes. Gender, it's no issue. We have more sisters in the Black Panther Party, and we have brothers. Hell yeah. How you think we had the breakfast program? We don't know how to cook. No, truthfully, the sisters were the backbone of the Black Panther Party. They were the brightest. And I would not have been in a Black Panther Party if it was just brothers. Hell no. Shit, ain't nothing like that. You know what I mean? So, is that helpful?
Yes.
You sure?
And how about for Mr. Cottle?
All right,
What
deal,
was it
go
like
on,
to
baby, let's go.
To be a white man involved in all of this back in '70?
Bill not white. What are you talking about? That's my brother.
one of the Black Panthers that I've kept, I've kept with over the years is Bobby Lee. You remember Bobby Lee? He was just a little boy back in the 60s. He was about 17, 18 years old back then. But anyway, he has spent his life working in the community. And not so much as a Black Panther, but just as a community organizer and working, helping people get elected, and trying to fight racism the best that he could. And he's, I think he learned a lot with his experience. Well, he studied with Saul Alinsky, and in his work with the Black Panthers when he was in Chicago. And he managed to survive because the police, from what I understand, had a contract out on him.
Yeah, contract out on everybody.
Yeah.
Shit.
So,
Still do.
but he
That's why I got my people out there. Wally, you there? Kenny, you there? Oh, shit. Go ahead, man.
one of the things he told me, the slogan of the Black Panthers was power flows from the barrels of a gun. Guns. And were you ever in our studio, our film studio?
Who's gonna ask it?
You.
Hell no, I wouldn't.
Right, anyway,
Yeah,
Bobby Rush was there, Fred Hampton came through, a lot of it. I think Bobby Seal was in there a couple times. I put a handwritten slogan, handwritten poster on my door, my office in the studio. It said, "Power flows from the vaults of a bank." And Bob, thank you. Bobby Lee said Freddie Hampton, Bobby Rush got so angry when they saw that sign and they walked by my office. And then Bobby Lee said that eventually he understood what I was saying, the power of money. And Bobby Rush, almost as soon as he got into the House of Representatives, he became a member of the House Banking Committee. So this responds to your to the question of trying to get people to change their minds about things. And by the way, I resented what you said about people over 57. I'm over 57 now.
I don't resent it. That's understanding, you know. I'm talking about the ones who don't know.
Oh, okay.
You know, the giant come laters, you know. But the phrase was political power flows from the barrel of a gun. It was in reference to a cultural nationalist push who thought political power flowed from the sleeve of dashiki.
Yeah.
You got that?
Yeah.
So keep it in context.
Oh, yeah. I was just doing that to tease the Black Panthers.
No. That's humor there.
Okay, well, thanks, everybody. Thanks very much for coming.
We thank Bill Cottle, Billy Brooks, Gretchen Helfrich. Thanks to all of you. Thanks for your support. Our next teaching is on June 26th about immigration with Alexander Hammond, the MacArthur Fellowship Genius Award winner. And then Birthing the Nation, A Handmaid's Tale on July the 10th. So thank you for your support, for helping us keep it going. Thank you.